Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Tennille and I take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Whitney.
I'm Tennille.
And today we took a look at Crusher Joe from Studio Nue, produced by Nippon Sunrise, Japan.
Yep.
And last time, I said I wasn't really sure what this was and I wasn't super enthused. Because I just kind of assumed it was going to be a generic space adventure.
Well, and it was like, it had kind of a long run time. And we've had so many of this kind of thing.
And, this was great.
Yeah, actually, this was really good. Right off the bat, I just want to say that this is definitely one I would consider checking out.
Absolutely. It is over 2 hours long. But the characters and the animation, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm
sure we'll talk about it a lot over this review.
I was in love with the animation. I really enjoyed the characters. The character designs were also really appealing. I'm really digging this 80s style of anime. And yeah, this was just like really well produced.
Absolutely.
There's a couple of things in particular I really want to point out. But why don't you go ahead? I guess now would be a good time for you to go check this movie out.
Yeah, go check it out. Crusher Joe. It was actually really good.
Anyway.
All right. Let's do a plot synopsis.
Sure.
Joe is a crusher, which is some sort of space delivery man, bounty hunter, generic spaceman that do the space things. They have a spaceship, there's a team of them, they deliver objects, but they also have guns and shit.
The summary I found for what this is based on says that they're kind of like anti-heroes.
Okay.
You know? They're very much in that like mercenary kind of.
Mercenary, that's the term.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, they are given a job to transport a frozen woman to a doctor on a different planet, otherwise she'll die. Ooh, I guess I should also note there are 3 other people on the team. Generic girl, generic child, generic big guy.
Yeah, you have your average team.
Yeah,
so,
and Joe is generic main character man.
Yeah, you've got Joe, I think it's Ricky is the little guy, Foo something's the girl. Ah, jeez, these names escape me already. But, yeah.
Anyways, they do a warp towards the other planet, and then everything goes horribly wrong. They wake up in the wrong place. The girl they were transporting and the other people that were with her are missing. And they're picked up by space police who are like, you guys are pirates. How dare you be here specifically? Because it's like this is a trade route. So like this would be a perfect spot for pirates to be hanging around to capture passerbys. They're not pirates. It's all a big misunderstanding. There's something wrong, obviously. But they're let go.
Well, they're trying to clear their names.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
They're let go by the police because there's not enough evidence to show that they were doing anything wrong. So, Crusher Head, like head of the Crusher business or whatever, is Joe's dad. And he's like, why did you take this job? You're supposed to approve all jobs, and we don't normally transport people. We're not an ambulance or something. You're on a 6-month suspension.
We're not human traffickers.
Yeah. Yeah, they're put on a 6-month suspension. So they all go to a bar, get really drunk, and angry. Which you usually don't see these
heroes.
Your heroes and, like, girlfriend characters get this wasted and bad-mouthy. Usually in these kinds of animes, these are like your perfect shining example characters who could do no wrong. Because, like, can you imagine the 2 main characters of Yamato doing this?
Oh, no, absolutely not. That's what I like about these characters, too, is they've definitely got a bit of roughness to them. They're flawed. Yeah, I really enjoy scenes like this in this movie where, like, Joe is definitely... He's drunk, he's angry, he's mad about it.
He starts
salty.
a fight.
Yeah.
Joe starts a fight and eventually gets the whole team involved, and it brings the entire dance bar thing,
The disco
crashing to the earth.
Yeah.
Anyways, they're picked up by a space government spy man, and he's like, "Hey, I have a tip for you guys on who set you up. The guy you're looking for is hanging out on this one specific planet. It's a new planet, newly terraformed. It's still a little rough around the edges, so it's full of pirates. You should go check that planet." So they do, because they want to clear their names and say that they're not pirates, they're just crushers and they were doing a job and stuff. And, if they find the girl that they were supposed to be transporting, all the better.
Right.
But, they're mostly in it to clear their names.
Yeah.
Well, they're attacked upon entry to the planet because, once you know it, the guys that got them to transport the girl are on this planet, and they're like, oh shit. So they attack them, there's some fighting and stuff, but then they are saved by the president of this planet.
And this is where things kind of start to get needlessly complicated, in my opinion. A little difficult to follow.
The only real downside I find of this movie is the plot is more convoluted than it really needs to be.
And it's an okay story, but, it's just serviceable. It's not dragging the movie down by any means, I don't think.
No, but I feel like it could have been a little more straightforward.
It up.
Because, there's so many, whiplashes and blind sides and, other things. It's what's going on? Why is any of this happening, really?
The story could have been much tighter.
Yes.
For sure.
Anyways, the president helps save them from their attackers. Turns out he also wants the pirates gone because he's getting blackmailed by them.
Right.
So, they have another reason to go after the pirates. And the president knows the island where their base is. He sends them on their way. They sneak into the base. They find the girl, who has been resuscitated but is still unconscious, so they don't know how to get her awake. Half of the team gets captured, as in the big guy and the kid. So Joe, the girl, and the girl that they just saved are now off in a swamp somewhere. They're attacked by the bad guys. The gunfire sounds apparently wake her up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of all right, there was gunfire earlier, but fine,
whatever,
she can wake up
she's
now.
awake now.
Yeah. Turns out she was a scientist working on some sort of super warp system, which would have made old warp systems obsolete. The problem with it is that apparently you can warp other people's ships.
Yeah, there's a bad side effect to the research they were doing in that you can control
other people's ships and warp them where you want them to go.
Right.
Which, sounds like a pretty bad oversight. Whatever, it's space magic. Anyways, and that's the reason that she is wanted by the pirates, because they want this super warp system to just bring ships to them and steal all the stuff on them.
And then warp enemy ships away.
Yeah, it would work perfect for them. Joe and the girls get captured again, and then they escape. Then they are chasing the main bad guy of the pirates, who is called Big Murphy. They're chasing Big Murphy into space.
Big Murphy has a funny little pet thing.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
I love this weird little gremlin thing. But anyways, Big Murphy has the scientist gal and is taking her to his spaceship in space. The Crushers follow behind, and now they have to get into the Death Star, essentially. It's the big evil spaceship that has the evil warp system online.
There's definitely been some, very, heavily inspired sequences
from Star Wars.
From Star Wars up to this point.
Like, again,
but,
totally
like,
makes sense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, like, the further you get into the movie, they pile on.
Yeah, more and more Star Wars-y things show up, which, again, is perfectly fine. Anyways, the space police get involved, and then it's just a big old shootout spaceship battle in space. Mm-hmm. The Crushers invade the system, but while this is all going on, Big Murphy has been using the warp system, which is not working correctly. But he's like, who cares? It'll work well enough for me. And he's warping ships all over the place, most of them crashing into the nearby planet.
And because
he's doing this, there's going to be a space-time collapse.
Yeah, it's the warp system is collapsing space-time.
You know, this seems pretty bad.
Which is causing all kinds of, like, natural disasters and catastrophes, like, all over.
All over the nearby planet and stuff. Mm-hmm. Scientist lady's like, this is bad, you should stop using that. And then Big Murphy's big oaf henchman decides enough is enough, and he shoots Big Murphy full of holes because he's
not because he's had a turn of heart.
No, just because he's sick of being bullied.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna be the mob boss now.
I'm gonna be the big boss. Space scientist lady turns off the machine. The Crushers show up and shoot the other guy full of holes. Mm-hmm. But scientist lady did get shot before she turns off the machine, and she dies.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Who could have seen that coming? That's obvious thing that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Introduce a love interest for the main character.
Who's not main girl.
Who is not generic blonde girl on the team that you know they're gonna end up with by the end of the series or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever.
So, no, this is the girl for the movie that's gonna show up, do some sort of thing, and then die. Yeah. And then she dies. Mm-hmm. One thing I want to note. She turns off the Death Star. It doesn't explode.
Yeah.
We don't have a massive catastrophic explosion in this movie.
Well, you say that, but like there's a lot of explosions in this movie.
There's a ton of beautiful explosions, but
we're not joking. Like the explosions, the way they're animated are so good.
Animated so well, and the color palettes.
It's mostly the color palette that really does it for me.
They're like purples and yellows and blues and oranges and like the colors are so good, they pop.
Whoever was the color key artist on this movie, like, you did a phenomenal job on the explosions in particular. They were a delight.
But yeah, the main spaceship doesn't explode, usually in these movies, like, the main bad guys explode and the good guys have to run away from the explosion or fly away or something, but that doesn't happen.
Well, that's honestly what I was kind of thinking was going to happen based on what was going on, is I figured that, you know, the bad guys using the warp incorrectly was going to be their own undoing.
Yeah, it was just going to blow itself up, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
They just turn it off.
Yeah.
Which is honestly refreshing.
Uh-huh.
Turns out we're not done with the movie because before Head Honcho that shot his boss in the back dies, he's like, seems everybody was duped by the president. Oh well, bleh. Bleh. Because it turns out the president of the planet was actually a part, or like using the pirates himself to make him look better politically.
Right, and now he was going to get rid of the pirates to, like, clean up that loose end.
Clean up that loose end and show that, like, he's going to bring prosperity and stuff to the planet, even though he set up the pirates in the first place.
Right.
It's like, it's good for his political career to have pirates that are then taken care of.
Yes, that he takes care of.
Yeah, that he did.
Right.
So he's arrested by the space police, and main character and girl go driving off in a car real fast to take care of their sadness or whatever. From,
to forget the trauma.
Forget the trauma of...
Car go fast.
Yeah, car go fast.
How can be sad when car go fast?
Yeah, the end.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They ride off into the sunset.
This movie was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun.
The animation, specifically, there are just small character animation moments here and there where someone will just like turn to the camera and make like a little gremlin face for like 2 frames and then it's gone again.
And it's
So
not
good.
like random. It's, you know, like the characters are having fun doing their job because they're good at their jobs and they have fun while doing it. And the animation expresses that. And it's so much fun to watch. And also there's just like a great balance of realistic physicality to the fight sequences, but also keeping a nice, like, cartoon physicality as well. And it balances just really nicely.
Absolutely.
Makes everything feel really snappy, really punchy, but also, like, when characters get hit or, you know, things explode, you're like, yeah, I feel that. That's tasty. That's good.
So how many times did the girl, the Crusher girl, like, fall on her face?
She fell on her face quite a few times, poor thing.
She
And I
gets
was
the
like,
shit beat out of her.
ooh, ouch.
But she just bounces back and then, like, makes a gremlin face at an enemy and punches him in the nuts or something. It's great.
Yeah, she doesn't get knocked down for long. It's pretty good.
I enjoyed the kid. Like, if anything, the big guy on the team who is a android or whatever, cyborg, like, he was probably the least interesting of the team, but he's supposed to be like the straight man.
Yeah.
So, like, that makes sense. So, like,
No, they have a great dynamic with each other.
the big guy and the kid play off of each other super well. Like, there's multiple times where the kid's like getting cocky and like slips or something and the big guy just grabs him out of the air and just keeps running or something. It's good.
Yeah.
It's great. And it's like small subtle bits of animation that you could miss if you're blinking.
Right.
I really liked it.
And not only do I have to give props to the, like, explosions, fight choreography, character designs, character animation, and all that, but there are also multiple, many shots in this movie where the whole screen is animated because they are doing a moving camera shot.
Oh, yeah. It's not like a painted background. It's like, no, there's like a ship turning on screen, or like they're flying over the planet, so like the background is completely moving with them, or like
It's completely animated.
yeah,
and for the most part, they're all really impressive. They have a really nice, like, they use exaggeration in those kinds of shots well, too, to emphasize, like, the motion and the movement of where they're going. And, yeah.
Again, the weight and movement of things in this movie feel good. Oftentimes in like these space movies, you don't really get a sense of scale or size on any of these ships. They're just kind of floating in a nebulous void.
You definitely get the scale.
You feel it. Like, there's one shot early on when the space police find the Crushers out there floating out in the middle of nowhere. And it's like a 30-second shot of their ship coming up beside the Crusher ship. And it's just massive.
Right, because the Crusher ship is not very big.
Yeah, it's made for like 4 people and a couple
Plus
of small...
cargo.
Yeah, cargo and a couple of smaller ships inside it. But like, this is like a battleship thing that like, it's ginormous. And so you just feel that scale.
There's also this really brutal scene in the middle where they, like, are fighting next to, like, a toxic vat of acid, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And some of our bad guys, like, fall into it.
And just melt.
Yeah, and, like,
it's not super detailed or anything, but, like, yeah, the bad guys all fall in and melt horribly in a vat of acid.
Yeah, like, again, it straddles a nice line of being realistic, but it's also not gory.
Yeah.
Which I personally appreciate. I don't mind gore, but, you know, I think that this is very effective, the way that it is decided to toe that line.
Yes. I guess we should also mention there is a little bit of female presenting nipples in this movie, if that is something that bothers you. There's not a lot, but like at the disco, there's a few women dancing that their tops come off.
Uh-huh.
And also the scientist gal that's frozen is naked.
Almost immediately in the movie, and then
Yeah.
and it's not until they rescue her the first time.
That they actually get her any clothes.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, just... That's a small thing to keep in mind.
That's such a... The whole plot line of her needing to be naked, cryogenically frozen for some reason is, like, on, like, the loosest of threads.
Oh, yeah. It's a dumb MacGuffin thing.
Right. It's like...
There was no reason she needed to be frozen.
Or naked.
Uh-huh. Except for, like, eye candy for the audience or whatever.
Right. It's just like, oh, okay.
Fine.
You didn't really even bother justifying that, but whatever. I don't really care. So anyway, about this movie. I wasn't able to find a ton of information, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah.
That surprises me. Like, this felt like a really fun film. How was there not more information about it?
Well, I can tell you that this is originally based off of sci-fi novels, actually, by Hakakura Takachiho.
Oh, okay. So it's books, it's text, not manga that it's based off of.
Right. Now, there has been some manga adaptations of it over the years.
That makes sense.
These novels were being written from 1977 to 2005.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, so long-running series. Besides this movie, there were also 2 OVAs made in 89.
Okay.
So maybe we'll check those out, maybe we won't, I don't know.
Yeah, OVAs are usually full-length films on, like, direct-to-video, so...
There was a sequel storyboarded for this, but it didn't really get past early production.
Aw, that's a shame. I would have loved to see a sequel to this film.
Yeah, I would have too. This was directed by Yoshikazu Yasuhiko. And the other thing I found while looking this up, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how in the middle, like somewhere
in the middle
in
of the movie, they go to a drive-in movie theater
Yes.
to talk to the president in
Yes.
secret. And
you know where I'm going with this.
I kind of glanced at your notes.
Uh-huh.
But there is a movie showing that is of 2 scantily clad space gals fighting aliens acting all bimbo-ish and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. And you're
Yes.
like, this looks way too familiar.
Yeah, it's like this is way too similar to Dirty Pair to not be like a reference or a cameo to Dirty Pair.
Mm-hmm.
That's because it totally is.
Hell yeah.
Because Hakakura Takachiho also wrote Dirty Pair.
All right, that's awesome. Now, this came out before Dirty Pair got animated versions of it.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Because, like, I know we have that as stuff to watch later.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but, yeah, that's
I was
great.
like, there's no way. This is way too similar for it to just be like a coincidence. And of course it's not. Of course it's not a coincidence.
Awesome.
Made by the same guy.
I love
so
that.
cool. But anyway, yeah, I totally recommend checking this one out.
Absolutely. It was a
lot
ton of fun. Again, the story is a bit more complex than it really needed to be, but the animation and characterization done here 100% makes up for it in my book.
Yeah, definitely some fantastic animated moments to like pick out and study and appreciate. I really like this one.
Either way, join us back here next time as we watch our Doraemon movie for the year. Doraemon!
Had to come sooner or later.
Yep, Nobita's Undersea Fortress.
All right. See you then.